Jung said, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. And I think that, is really reflective of everything that you've been talking about, because really at the end of the day, it's about doing that inside work and being able to get everything in order to live our best possible life and to be able to touch those around us in a way that's not going to harm them. I mean, there's this saying, hurt people hurt people. And I believe that very much to be true if we're not taking the time to quieten the mind and maybe get therapy and do that inside work to be able to live in our greatest way.
Sure. And, I often reflect on the fact that this is not new. It's simply more and more frenetic. Um, in the 17th century, the French inventor, mathematician, and mystic Blaise Pascal said,
Mm.
all of our troubles rise from one central fact, and that is we have difficulty sitting by ourselves quietly for any length of time. And he said, even the king and queen, with all the privileges of the court, had to invent a jester because they will grow miserable if they reflect upon their own souls. So
Mm.
we invent the jester to distract them. And the French word he used was divertissement, diversion. And so popular culture is a grand treatment plan for what ails people. It's all about diversion. What is it you're being diverted from? The fact that something inside of you is needful, the
Mm.
fact that something inside of you is hurting, the fact that something in you is wanting to experience growth and permission to live in this world. And it's much easier to turn our attention to the noisy world all around us. We're not saying life is more difficult now. But if you're go back a few hundred years or a few thousand years, and life is a constant struggle to stay alive every
Mm.
day. It's very fractious and traumatic. At the same time, we have in most of the world, half of the world at least, creature comforts our ancestors could never have imagined. They would have
Mm.
associated probably with a sense of abiding happiness. But how happy are we? As Rilke said at the beginning of the last century, notice that we're not very much at home in the world that we've constructed.
Mm.
So as we're disconnected, and another element to that, frankly, is our need to have a bigger picture, a bigger story than the small story that we're carrying in our culture. The ancient civilizations and even more recent civilizations had stories that located people in the cosmos somewhere. Sort of the four orders of mystery. Who are the gods? What is their intention for us? Where do we go after death? Right? As that mythological link in a felt experiential way, not as a cognitive thing, but a felt experiential way. As that goes away, one feels homeless in the universe. One feels adrift on a tiny speck floating through time and space. There's the mystery of nature. How do we fit in harmoniously to nature? We know modern civilization has violated nature, and nature is beginning to violate us in substantial ways, maybe irreversible ways. Thirdly, is the mystery of belonging, of society. Society has legitimate claims to make upon us. You stop your automobile at a stop sign, that's a legitimate trade off for the social contract, hoping your neighbor buys into the same idea. And so, what are the rights, duties, privileges of citizenship, for example, and family? That's all a legitimate question. And fourthly, is the mystery of the individual journey. Who are you? What is your journey about? And you erase those felt linkages to the larger stories, the tribal stories, and the person's cut off and adrift. That's why Jung said at the end of the 19th century, modern depth psychology had to be invented. That's a strange phrase, had to be invented to help individuals find their pathway when they no longer felt guided in a sustained and developmental way by the stories that are coming from the tribe.
I wonder, everything that you've learnt about Jung's psychology, how were you able to use that when your son unfortunately passed away?
Well, one grieves. Um, I'm not exempt. There was a great reversal of one's natural expectation. I ask myself almost on a daily basis, why am I still here and he isn't? And not just my son, other loved ones, better people than I am. And I have no answer for that. Um, I also know that I was gifted by a wonderful person, and that gift has not died within me. Um, he and I had many good times together and a lot of humorous times together. He loved to make fun of me, which was loving and well intended, and I can't help but be amused when I reflect on that. So I'm torn between gratitude and grief, and he's now been deceased uh, 17 years, and it's present every day. And we experience grief to the degree that we were also gifted by something. If we weren't given something valuable, we wouldn't grieve it. And so that's how I see it. I don't know that that has anything to do with Jung, but it's how I hold that tension of opposites, which is a Jungian concept, that for the great truths, the other truth, the counter truth, is also true, and they're not contradictory. So I grieve and I'm grateful. That's the tension of opposites.
Mm.